The film begins with Nancy, who was living a perfect life with her family in Holland. But that was only until she started suspecting that her husband was hiding something from her. While doing the laundry, she finds a note in her husband's pocket with a girl's name on it. When she visits her husband's office for some work, she also sees a model of the city of Holland, which had only a few houses and the street connected to them. Nancy wondered why Fred needed this model as he was an eye doctor. She was now convinced that there was something Fred was hiding from her. She herself was in a muddle, and she speaks to Cledev about her husband, expressing her suspicion. She wants to know what he is hiding from her, and at this moment, she needs his help. However, he refuses for the time being, saying that it's a personal matter and he doesn't want to get involved. She goes to the kitchen, and even while cooking, she was so angry that she ruined the entire meal. Some way, her husband noticed her displeasure, and at the dining table, he said to her, "Nancy, if I've made any mistake, please forgive me, we can start over again." She hadn't suspected anything. Did she doubt the flat? Then why talk to Fred? Her mind was spinning. After everyone went to bed, she went to the gallery where Fred's stuff was kept and found a hidden camera. She was even more troubled, wondering why Fred needed a camera and why it was hidden. As she checked, she heard noises from her brother's room. Frightened, she grabbed the hammer and went outside to check, only to see a raccoon in her dustbin, which ran away when it saw her. She turns around and sees a light on in her house, where she observes the shadow of a girl with Fred in a room. At that moment, she notices her son has somehow gone outside, dressed in festival clothes, running towards the forest. She chases after her son and eventually reaches a road where numerous corpses appear under her feet. In the next second, all the corpses disappear and she starts to drown in water, and suddenly her eyes open. Everything she had seen, from cooking to drowning, was actually Nancy's dream, and such dreams. That's why they were coming, because she had been thinking about the front all day. Anyway, the next day it is shown that Nancy meets Dave again in a restaurant and tells him that now my suspicion is growing stronger that the front is having an affair with someone else. Please help me. I want to catch him red-handed. Dave still didn't want to take the time, but as soon as Nancy held his hand, he melted and agreed to help her because he secretly liked Nancy himself. He asked Nancy what he would have to do. Nancy explains, it's very simple. You just have to go to him under the pretext of a checkup, and then you need to open his washroom window under the pretext of using it, so we can enter his clinic at night to investigate. Following Nancy's instructions, Des goes to Flood for an eye checkup, though his eyes were perfectly fine. Front asks Dev if he's a teacher at the same school as Nancy. Hearing Nancy's name, Dev gets flustered and says he's very introverted, doesn't meet many teachers, and hence doesn't know many people. Dev's anxiety was rising and he wanted to leave, but his friends stopped him and put drops in his eyes. He had to wait a bit, so that Friday could check him again, but as soon as he left Flood's place, Dave got up and ran away. However, he saw a policeman ahead, which scared him as if he had committed a murder. He rushed to the washroom and, following Nancy's instructions, opened the window and wedged a paper there so it wouldn't lock at night. After finishing, he quickly ran off. Fred's assistant told him his checkup wasn't done yet. There were drops in his eyes, making his vision blurry. He narrowly avoided an accident, but eventually reached for Nancy's car. Dev. What happened? He also told Nancy that he would no longer support her. Nancy was still very grateful to him for risking his life to help her so much. Here, they both become emotional and grow closer to each other, and it is revealed that not only Daisy, but Nancy too had started to like Dave. They had to carry out their mission in crime, that is, Nancy had to check the clinic at the flat, so she made an excuse to flaunt that she was going to a night party at her friend's place. However, she wasn't going with Dev to the party. As soon as they wanted to enter, they sneaked into the washroom. Meanwhile, we are shown that Flat receives a call from the same woman whose house Nancy pretended to be going to, and Nancy's cover is about to be blown. The woman's son had a severe eye infection, so she called Fred to come quickly. She arrives at the clinic and brings her son along. Leaving her son alone at home, she heads to her clinic, and here inside the clinic we see Nancy. She notices that Fred has many debit cards, and she notes down the number of one of them. She also finds an album with pictures of many houses, all taken with a camera that Fred had hidden. Just before she could investigate further, she receives a call from Deb informing her that Fred has arrived outside. Hearing this, she is shocked and quickly tries to make her way out. And in the process, she falls onto the model of the air rank ride. Here, Fred begins to check the boy for whom he came to the clinic. After that, he asks the lady how she and Nancy are enjoying themselves, to which the lady replies that Nancy isn't coming to her house. Jack realized that Nancy was lying to him. Meanwhile, we saw Nancy at Dave's house and they had become very close. Here, when Fred goes into the secret room of his clinic, where the model was kept, he finds Nancy's jewelry on the model, which makes him realize that Nancy had been there. Everything seemed normal, but someone arrived outside DDF's house. They were students who came to threaten Dev because he had punished them. After that, Dev goes to Nancy and tells her he can't live a life of hiding like this. If you want to be with me, you must divorce your husband. Hearing this, Nancy says, "No, I absolutely can't do that. I love Friend very much. Yes, if something happens that Friend is deceiving me, then I would divorce him and come to you. But there's still an issue. Wright's financial condition is much better than mine. If we divorce, my son's custody might go to him, and I can't live without my son. I can't live without my son. She needs her own place, and the fourth is there, and she dozes off." At night, she dreams again of her son leaving. Scared, she opens her eyes to see her friend at her feet. Her friend asks her, "How was your night out?" Nancy fibbed that it was great, and her friend didn't let on that he had caught her lie. She had resumed her mission from her end. Eotagon. She had taken the debit card number from Flood's office. She started retrieving its information and discovered that a very expensive gift had recently been purchased with that debit card. When she returned to her room, she saw a gift placed on her bed. Was this gift still bought for her? Seeing this made her happy, and here Fred also returned her misplaced earrings and told her not to worry. Everything would be fine. The facts had eased her a lot. A few days later, there was a party at Nancy's office where she and Dave were present. She really enjoyed Dave's company. Even after coming home, she kept thinking about him. She felt a strong attraction to him. She even called Dave and said she was ready to be with him. However, Dave needed to do a small task for her, gathering evidence against her friend so she could divorce and they could be together. After hearing this, Dave agreed to help. From the next day, they started. They set off on their mission and began to track Fred. They discover that today a hotel room was booked in a different location. They plan for Dave to create a distraction downstairs while Nancy searches the room upstairs. When Nancy searches the room, she finds some strange items, including handcuffs and other things that seem to serve no obvious purpose. She wonders what Fred plans to do with all this. Meanwhile, Dave is unable to stop Fred with a cop, so he immediately calls Nancy, prompting her to leave the room. According to Dave, the items they found were all related to the Flood's affairs. She followed instructions. Dev said, "We're nearly there. Just need a photo of him with his girlfriend. With that proof, you can divorce him and we can be together." Nancy agreed and went home. She looked again at the Holland model Fred made, which had just a few houses. She found a file with blueprints of these houses. This seemed odd to her. She started researching and found that a dead body had been discovered in each one. All these bodies. These were homicides, and none of their perpetrators have been discovered to this day. It was becoming increasingly evident that Fred was implicated in a serial case. When Nain was busy in her village, Dave was occupied with his work. He was following Fred's car. He reached a house near the forest where a girl came out to meet Fred. It was the perfect time. He quickly took out his camera and started taking many pictures as Fred was meeting the girl. In an attempt to gather more evidence, Dev entered the house and went inside a room where he saw that Fred wasn't getting close to the girl. In fact, Fred had tied the girl up and had already slashed her throat with a knife. The girl was bleeding profusely. Blood was flowing and she was nearly dead. Dev realized Fred was a killer. Dev was shocked, unable to move, and then Fred noticed him. Fred was now going to kill him too. He approached with a knife, but as Dev tried to save himself, he fell out of the window. Fred came outside to finish him. And the DSC says, "I want you to get to know Nancy well and that you're also chasing me along with Nancy." Hearing this, Dev got even more scared as he realized Flood wouldn't spare him. Coitis. He ran to the edge of the dock. There was a boat he started to untie to escape, but from behind, his friend grabbed him again. He was about to strangle him when Dev grabbed the knife from him and stabbed it into his stomach, making Fred fall into the water, and in the end, Dev was saved. Dev thought he had finally dealt with Fred for good, and here. The story didn't end there. The next morning, he went back to town and disposed of the clothes he had worn when he committed Fred's murder. He noticed that he had received numerous calls from Nancy during the night. She wanted to tell Dave the truth about the flat, but Dave had already spun a different tale. He told Nancy that he had caught Fred red-handed. He had taken pictures of him and then showed her the picture, saying if she valued her well-being, she should leave the situation between them. She valued her reputation greatly, so she agreed and left the situation between them. She was very surprised as he used to profess his love for her. How could he leave so easily? Dev said that he had simply believed the updates, point-wide. He had even started living with son Dave, but every day Nancy lived in fear that one day Fred would come and kill her too, just like the other girls he had murdered before. On the other hand, Dev's mental state also began to deteriorate because he kept having nightmares about the murder he had committed, that is, Fred's murder. A few days later, we are shown that a festival was being organized in Holland, in which she had also brought her son along, and here her friends were asking her about her husband. Nancy says that he is on vacation, but then her other friend mentions, "Oh, he hasn't arrived yet, but I saw him at the festival just a little while ago." Hearing this, Nancy was taken aback. She became frantic with worry. As she looked around, her gaze also fell on the flag. By now, her fear had completely taken over. She began searching for her son here and there. When she couldn't see him, she stood up to look for him, and it was at this moment that she had an encounter with the person who had brought him home. I realized from them that he had brought this plan to kill her son so that her son would also be out of the way between the two of them and Nancy would be completely Dev's. Seeing this, she could be very worried about Dev, and she now takes her son back to her home, and Dev also arrives there. Dave had resolved that he would tell her the whole truth. Dev told her that when I went to confront Fred, I witnessed a terrifying scene. Fred was with a girl. He didn't go near that girl, but instead, he slit her throat and murdered her, and I saw it all. As soon as Fred found out, I saw all this, and he came after me too. Fighting, we reached the edge of the cliff. By the time there Fred was about to kill me, but to defend myself, I grabbed his knife and stabbed him, and he fell into the water. I killed him. Nancy is shocked to hear all this and gives him the shocking news that he is not dead yet. He has come back. Nancy's son, who was sitting inside, had heard all this. He had also learned the truth about his dad being a serial killer. Here, Dave couldn't believe that Fred was still alive. He thinks she was saying all these things to protect him from Cannon. But Dave was now tired of all these things. He had decided that he would surrender himself to the police. He was just about to dial the police when Nancy snatched the phone from his hand and pushed him, causing him to hit his head on the briefcase. Bob snatched the gun from Dave and went outside, telling him not to be afraid and that she was just going to get help. As soon as she went outside, she saw that Fred had arrived and he had his son with him. When she approached Fred, he asked to speak with her alone and said that whatever she had learned, forget it. We'll start over. I'll leave everything. Eva and Nancy, like a good wife, agreed with him and got into the car with his son. However, as soon as they were in the car, she pointed a gun at Fred and told her son to run away immediately. As soon as her son got out, Nancy fired a gun, but it was the first time she had fired, so the bullet didn't hit Fred. It just grazed his ear. Seeing this, Fred became angry and was about to attack Nancy to kill her. At this point, Nancy's son arrives. Having seen his mother in danger from a distance, he came to cover for his mum. From behind, he pushed Fred and Nancy started hitting him on the head with her shoes. She hit him with such force that eventually, Fred's life was lost and he died. Vanadi, after killing him, Nancy hugged her son and took a breath of relief. In the post-credit scene of the movie, we are told that Nancy and Dave got married, and since then, the three of them have been living happily as a family. And with that, the story ends here.